Every day, millions of people worldwide are being forced to work under terrible conditions. This is what we call bonded labor, and we have to stop it.
Bonded labor, also known as debt bondage, happens when people give themselves into slavery as a security against a loan or when they inherit a debt from a relative. It can be made to look like an employment agreement, but one where the worker starts with a debt to repay, usually in brutal conditions, only to find the repayment of the loan is impossible. Then the enslavement becomes permanent. This kind of slavery is most common form of slavery. Despite this, it is less known. It's most widespread in South Asian countries such as India and Pakistan.
Meet Sharan. Sharan is 35 years old and has worked as a bonded laborer for more than half his life. Under the bonded labor system in Nepal where Sharan lives, workers agree to work for a landlord for 1 year. Most laborers are paid in food or other basic items rather than money, but laborers don't usually receive enough to live off and they are often forced to borrow from the landlords or employers, and they pay back these loans through work. This causes a vicious circle of debt and poverty that is passed from one generation to another. Sharan's family had to borrow money to pay for everyday expenses. To repay this, Sharan went into bonded labor at the age of 14. He had to work almost 16 hours a day, starting at 4 in the morning. Now Sharan earns the equivalent of about $40 a month. This income has encouraged Sharan to send his children to school because he doesn't want them to suffer as he did from a lack of education.
Hey, right now I'm standing in a small town in India where bonded labor take place. So the question is, how can we stop the society to stop bonded labor? And first of all, the bigger firms need to inform customers if they use debt slavery or any kind of slavery to produce their products. I believe that the result of this would be that people would distance themselves from these firms. And of course, not everyone care about this, but this may not stop debt slavery, but it's a beginning, and that's a step on the way.
We believe that people aren't aware of which extent slavery is. To raise the public awareness, we believe that we would educate children in school about slavery so that everyone is aware of it from the beginning of their school life, and hopefully they will fight side by side with us in the future to end this bonded slavery in all countries. Furthermore, we believe that it should be more available to get the knowledge about bonded slavery, just like as if it was in the news. An innovative idea to solve the information problem could be to create an application that informs you with notification. By that, it would be a more discussed problem and not as tabooed as it is in the present time.
So, what have we learned? Bonded labor is the most common kind of modern slavery, yet many of you probably didn't know about it. Bonded labor is worldwide, and it might be happening even in your country. So, help us, make a donation. Let's change the world, free all people, and make sure that our human rights will never be violated